Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Unicorn 2021. Thank you so much for joining this brand spotlight session on Lifebuoy, a global leader in hygiene. My name is Sarsa. I am a marketing UFLP, and I've had the honor and privilege of working on this brand for a bit over a year. So I'm really excited to be here to share more with you. But with me, joining me is Ishita Sharma. She's a global brand director of Lifebuoy. She's had of opportunities in FMCG, lots of experience. I'm really lucky to be able to call her my mentor and my friend, and I'm so excited for her to share so much with you about this amazing brand that we've both come to know and love. So Ishita, please.
Hi everyone, really nice to be meeting you all. I wish it was in different times and we could have met in person and not virtually. But thanks Arsha. I'm Ishita. I am one of the global brand directors who works on Lifebuoy, and really excited about getting this chance to represent a brilliant brand which appeals to me personally. And one feels fortunate when times like this happen in their career, when you can get to work on brands as beautiful and as purposeful as Lifebuoy. Sarsa will help me take you guys through some of the work that we've been up to. So the task, guys, in front of me is massive. I think I'm the newest senior leader in this brand, but I've really been fortunate to have kind of joined the bandwagon of Lifebuoy during the time of COVID. And as you see the history of the brand, I'll try and bring it alive for you. You'll see how it was something which was just meant to be. Lifebuoy was a brand that was born in purpose. It's one of the most purposeful brands on the planet. And COVID, therefore, for us was not an opportunity, but just another chance to give back to the people, the planet that we so care for. And one can just think of it as something which will accelerate business. But I think the way we looked at it and the way we've dealt with the whole crisis of COVID, I think it was about accelerating our purpose, if anything, right? Now, business will always happen. If you are doing what is true and if you're staying true to your core, I think business is always a byproduct, and it will happen if you've got your heart and your minds in the right place. So let me take you briefly through the history of this brand, and we'll then get into taking you through some examples of what happened when COVID struck. And in the end, Sarsa and I am going to be happy to take any questions that you all might have. So bear with us. You'll hopefully enjoy what we have to offer and to take you through. And yes, pay attention. There is going to be a surprise prize at the end of it. Okay. So let's start at the start. Lifebuoy is one of Unilever's oldest brands. It was a brand which was born in 1894. And these are the times in Victorian England when cholera struck. And William Hesketh Lever, our own founder, he invented this brand with the sole purpose of saving lives. Really, the ability to be able to offer affordable hygiene to people who were suffering from cholera. And the entire idea was to make cleanliness commonplace. Things that we take for granted today. That's not what happened in Victorian England. And, right at the start, there was this entire mission of wanting to lessen the workload of women. And it's interesting, right? Because as kids fell ill less often, people in the family fell ill less often. It became the mother's workload kind of got reduced because she could then concentrate on doing other things. So just the enabler that this product became, that as people fell less sick, women in the household got chance to do better things and to really concentrate on the well-being of the family. And the other thing was to foster health and hygiene as a common goal for the family, because it isn't like it is today. Like back then, it just didn't matter. It was more about survival, more about food, and how hygiene came to take center place because of a brand like Lifebuoy that was born. Now, moving on, in the 1910s and 1920s, we repositioned ourselves as a health soap. It was the first health soap in the brand, and it's powered by this massively revolutionary ingredient called carbolic acid. We became a life-saving product. And when I say that, it was the chance to be something more than just a simple soap, because we made cleanliness commonplace and we made soap and hand washing a daily essential, right? And that's how we were enabled to play a huge part in being able to save lives. Our core brand vision has always been about giving people all over the world a chance to feel safe and secure just because they have health and hygiene at the tip of their fingers. And really, the way we have done this is to really inspire, educate, and bring alive this entire behavior of hygiene. And we've been committed from our inception to the mantra of doing well by doing good. And I told you business will follow. But if you do good and if you do right, then you will do well as a brand. Okay. Moving on, as the 1940s happened, we started really communicating about the consequence of germs. What happens when you have germs? Like, what does it even mean? And one of the first ways in which people understood and recognized this was through the means of body odor. So, you know, one of the obvious things that happen is when you have germs on your body smells bad. And that really was the first time that a brand started talking about protection against germs. And we became distinctive not just as a health soap, but as a germ protection soap and brand. Another thing which has been core to us, and you will see more of this as I take you guys through the history of the brand and the journey we've been on, is this entire thing of social mission. Right, this mission to be social is again something which has been in our core. You will see this image, and I hope all of you can see this slide. There is this lovely truck which is called Lifebuoy Emergency Bath Service, and these were deployed during World War II all through Europe. And the idea was to be able to just give people the dignity of a clean, hygienic shower. You know, things, again, like I say, we take so much for granted today. But those were not things that were common. And more importantly, it protected people from getting infected with germs, which was so critical during the time of war. Moving on, as like we were born in Europe and we were born in Victorian England, eventually, obviously, we started branching out. The first market we went to outside of Europe was obviously India. It was 1895 when we branched out, and then closer home to Indonesia in 1949. The idea has always been to make germ protection and hygiene commonplace for families, but we did it in a manner which was affordable. Because if it were not affordable, it would not be approachable and it would not become a daily habit. So we've always been conscious that we will give the best in class hygiene products, and D&E markets are developing in emerging markets where affordability is always going to be something which is key. Right, so that was something which is again in our core DNA, because if we have to equip the world to fight infection and germs, we need to do it in a manner that people can afford, right? The next big step change in our history really happened in early 2000s. So all of these years, you know, we were almost a masculine dirt removal germ protection brand. But in 2002, we upped our game and we brought in a huge bunch of new products, fragrances, and of course, an updated product formula to go back to our core of being a brand which was rooted in the deeper purpose of protecting families from germs and not just men. And that's what we do today. This thing of putting the family at the heart of our communication stays true to every single bit of Lifebuoy that you will see as and experience as consumers. Now, moving on, I think some core tenets on this brand. What is all of these things that I've explained to you, which is like almost core to our philosophy? What has this enabled us to achieve? We are today the world's #1 germ protection soap and selling across more than 50 markets. And this is in terms of the number of units of soap sold. Now, that's a huge footprint. That's a huge task, but it's also a huge testimony to the fact that we are not just a known brand, but we are a loved and trusted brand when it comes to this entire space of germ protection and hygiene. And that's what makes us the #1 brand. What's interesting, if you go on, is if you look at the Kantar brand footprint, you'll realize that we are the world's 3rd most chosen brand, up from #5. So this is data for 2021. And that's, of course, taking into account what's happened in 2020. We were #5. We've gone up to being #3. Now, you see, interestingly, we are right behind Coke and Colgate. We are the #1 skin cleansing brand on this panel. And when I say we gain both penetration and frequency, penetration is just the sheer number of households that have you. So we increased our footprint in terms of the number of households that bought us. And frequency means how often are you bought. So not only did more households buy us, they bought us more often, right? And we all know what happened in 2020 when the pandemic struck. Hygiene became so critical, and Lifebuoy kind of rose to the occasion to make sure that our products were available. We expanded our footprint. We went into new geographies, which we weren't in before, North America being an example, Australia being another. And we said, we will rise up to this challenge because this is really what we were born to do. And you see then the confidence that consumers place in you by looking at share data, by looking at data in terms of the footprint of brands. So moving on, what is our purpose? Right? I explained to you that we were all about making people feel safe and secure. Now, how do we codify this? And every brand in Unilever has its purpose. And then there are purposeful brands, right? So we are like I choose to say the most purposeful brand in the company stable. And our purpose is about saving lives and helping parents ensure their kids fall ill a little less often. We know kids are going to fall sick. We know families are going to fall sick. But can we be the enabler that ensures that this happens a little less frequently? Because there is a huge cost to the family, to emotional well-being, to the economy when people are not well. And that's the little bit that we do and kind of come in and make sure that we live up to our purpose. And it's all about saying, how the human truth on which this rests is that parents do their best to ensure that the kids don't fall sick, right? I'm a mother, I have a 6-year-old kid, and I can just tell you it's completely devastating every time he falls sick because you start looking for reasons why. You start wondering what has he eaten, who has he met, could he have, what has he been exposed to? And it's amazing that you feel so vulnerable. And yet, at that time as a parent, the first thing you want to do is to be able to solve for it. So if the brand can come in and help this, that's the biggest role it can play. So I'll take you through how we do this. So moving on, how do we do this is by putting out an authority in terms of being the doctor that people can love. You and I, we've all fallen sick. Some of us are parents, some of us not. Most of you on the call are not. People on the Unilever side are. The entire thing is when you go to a doctor, you're anyway scared. You have this fear in your heart because you're almost kind of dreading what the doctor is going to tell you. We've decided that we are going to be the doctor that people can love. There is a massive authority we bring in, top notch, like the best in class. And yet we want to dispense advice with humility, with humanity, with simplicity, somewhat surprising, maybe sometimes funny, because you have to bring them in. And if you bring people in and if you connect with them, then they're more able to understand the message that you're landing to them. It also then transcends into the kind of solutions we offer. We have never offered products that are very complicated for people to understand or require a lot of engineering at their end because it has to be accessible immediately. Now, if you were to create complicated solutions where they have to mix things or formulate or dose, they will never use it, right? So with the intention of making hygiene commonplace also comes this ability to land the messaging in a manner which is relevant, true, and you don't only want to earn their respect, but you want to earn their love and loyalty. And that's why we will always be this doctor that people can love. One way in which we have done this is by ensuring that we have a very strongly codified brand communication idea, which is staying one step ahead of infection. So when I said that we want to make sure that kids fall ill a little less often, how can you do that? Is by not being curative, but by being preventive. How do you stay ahead of the curve? So this leads to our engagement platform, which we call, moving on, we call it the infection alert system. What is this? It sounds very sci-fi, very high-tech, but it's something which is very, very simple. When is it that things can go out of hand? And having seen the way endemics happen, having seen the way disease happens, having seen the way there are patterns in country after country in terms of when kids tend to fall sick a little often, if you start activating right in time at the right occasions, like seasonal changes, or when there's a festival, or when kids are going back to school, if you start equipping parents and mothers at that time, you can ensure that kids will fall ill a little less often. So I'm going to give you the example of a market like Indonesia, and I'll take you through the calendar. It's very, very simple and you'll get it in a bit. You have the monsoon season at the start of the year where you see Jan, Feb, March, kids start getting sneezy and you start getting like experiencing cold. Stop the spread of germs. This monsoon, bring in Lifebuoy. So that's a topical time when the brand can get activated. Another time is typically the time of Ramadan in Indonesia, which is April, May, June, where there is a lot of community meeting. There's a lot of going out. There's a lot of celebration that happens. But before you sit down to celebrate with your family is the time that you use your Lifebuoy to wash your hands. Then July, August, September, when they go back to school for the first time, again, so much interaction. They're touching surfaces. They're on the playground. They're eating food. They're handling their friends. Stop the spread of germs again by bringing Lifebuoy back into the narrative. And finally, things like HFMD. There is a season, all of us in Singapore know it as well. There is a flu season, there's the HFMD season. If you can activate the brand at that time, again, you're able to be part of the topical discussions. Moving on. Interestingly, we also play in more exciting and more relevant and topical times, because that, I think, appeals a lot to the younger audiences. While the children you will take care of by doing things like the infection alert system. I'll give you an example. When the very historical and famous Trump-Kim meeting happened in Singapore, for example, we took an angle of peace versus germs. So the idea was handshake should build peace, not germs, should bring peace, not germs. Because typically when you're shaking people's hands, you're transferring germs from one to the other. So how do you kind of play in some of these topical occasions? One, for example, the last one that you see on the screen is during Mother's Day. So we always make claims that we can do 99.9% perfection and prevention and killing of germs or destroying of germs as a brand. And then we said to the mothers that you beat us by that 0.1%, because it's the love and the care that the mom brings in and how that really enables the brand to have a role to play. So going on, this is, and I'm going to quickly talk you through the world's biggest behavior change program that we are very proud to lead as a brand, because I've been talking about the fact that, we stand for germ protection, for ensuring hygiene and health, and for ensuring that kids fall ill a little less often. Is it just all talk, or is there something that we do about it? Now, the do that we have is our behavior change program. So I'll talk you through it. Our purpose, right? So I took you to the purpose, which is to ensure that kids, we want to save lives. Not only do we want to save lives, you also want to save the planet. Okay. Now, moving on. How do we bring this alive? Like I said, right from the time we were born in 1894, where we wanted to make cleanliness commonplace in Victorian England, where cholera was affecting people, right to the times of COVID, when we're actually saying to people, we are putting out public service messages to talk about the fact that people shouldn't be spreading panic, but good habits of hand washing, putting out public service messages. How have we done this entire journey from 1894 to the present is what I'll talk about now. So, move on. This is the codified Lifebuoy behavior change program. And we have developed this model, which we have been running since 2010 amongst kids, amongst mothers, educating them about the importance of hand washing. So this has nothing to do with COVID. It is from much, much before. And we really see that a positive impact on health can lead to a positive impact on business. And we really want to improve this behavior of hand washing amongst 2 billion people. Now, what are these 4 steps? And you'll see a bunch of pictures of kids from different markets. The first is going to schools and creating awareness about why hand washing is important. Second is to get kids to commit. So it's something as simple as getting them to pledge that there are certain key occasions when I'm going to wash my hands, and kids take all of this very, very seriously, right? And so do the mothers who we reach out to with different programs. The third is reinforcement, where we again keep on going back to them to repeatedly tell them how that behavior has to be practiced, because teaching them just once doesn't ensure that it will be done. So it's a question of again asking them, how have you been washing, seeing it, and again reinforcing the right behaviors. And finally, because there are children involved, rewarding them. So the program ends with us going back to these kids to reward them for the fact that they have really been practicing the right behaviors. And we have now been running this for years to massive scale. So just to share a number with you, while our vision is to reach 2 billion, we've already reached between 2010 to 2020, 1 billion people. So that's 1/8 of the world's population. And the big campaigns that we've run for this we've run this massive program, which was called Help a Child Reach 5. And we've done this with some of the best partners in the world. So you'll see there are a bunch of partners, but Oxfam, even the United Nations, HCR, Plan, Gavi, we have not done this by ourselves, right? Because it's a huge mandate. And some of these partners have connections with the government. They have public policy makers who are in them. Because the idea is that everybody has to rally, because the change that will then happen is felt by everybody. So it cannot just be a brand leading this narrative alone. We spearhead it, we completely fund it, but we really need the right partners to be able to ensure that we reach the right scale for programs like this. So moving on, I'm going to request my team to play a film for you. We've just won a Cannes for our campaign, which is called H for Hand Washing. And it won a Cannes in 2020 for health and wellness. And like I said, it's just one of the programs that we run to really ensure that we can change the hygiene habits of people across the world. So requesting the team to play the video.
There is one lesson the world keeps forgetting.
Only 5% of adults wash their hands properly.
But we have to hand wash the right way.
Swine flu, bird flu, even the Spanish flu of 1918. On every occasion, soap and water has made a difference for the preservation of human life.
Yet, shockingly, hand washing rates dropped even in the middle of the pandemic.
We're all creatures of habit, and changing habits during a crisis doesn't work. Habits like hand washing are ingrained early in life.
To make hand washing an unforgettable lesson, we decided to make a small but fundamental change in the first lesson we are ever taught, the alphabet.
The big idea is that everywhere around the world, H must not be associated with horse or hat or home or hippo. H must stand for hand washing.
None of us forget our ABCs, and if we can catch children early, they will not forget the crucial nature of hand washing.
Lifebuoy kicked off a widespread multi-year campaign across countries and languages to forever change the way the letters are taught. In partnership with governments and over 25 of the world's leading NGOs and kids content creators, the campaign sparked conversations across the world.
Now H will also stand for hand washing.
H हाथ धोने के लिए है.
But our biggest victory was the government's actually changing a 100-plus-year-old curriculum to forever instill a habit that's been saving lives for hundreds of years.
H is for hand washing is a lesson so that we can begin to mitigate catastrophes like COVID-19.
H is for hand washing.
Okay, so let's go on. Skip this. So now let's get into what it is that we did during COVID-19. Now, I think in a snapshot, I'll try and go fast because I think we're running a little behind time. This is when we really started. I think, like I said to you guys, it was now having seen what we've been doing, I think you'll understand better that this was not an opportune moment for us, but almost like the reason we were born, right? And there is this beautiful quote that I read, which is, when COVID happened, the only hope was soap, right? Because you heard the WHO, you heard CDC, everybody talking about hand washing, but we rose above that. What we did was to put a bunch of public service announcements across our lead markets where we said, does not matter which brand of soap you buy. We were the brave marketeers who said, wash your hands, whether it's with Lifebuoy or Dettol or Protex or Safeguard, just make sure that you keep your hands clean and keep on doing this, right? So that's what we did, and I would have loved to play the video, but we're going to skip this. But we used our celebrities, we used our influencers across the world to land this message saying, does not matter. You've usually seen us talking about Lifebuoy, but just go ahead, use any brand. Together with that, we also put out videos in a very interactive manner. You'll see this cute cartoon at the bottom of that previous screen, where we use finger dancing to teach children how the various hand washing steps had to be done. Now, as the pandemic worsened, right, and it got from bad to worse, we said we are going to launch yet another appeal, where we said people need to not just wash their hands, but wear masks, vaccinate, and maintain social distance. And the way this was done is, you see a picture of this doctor. He basically urged people to say that saving this country from COVID now is not just in our hands, but also in the hands of every single one of you. So I'm going to request the team to just play this video.
हर इंडियन से एक विनती है, कोरोना वायरस अब तक गया नहीं, पर अच्छी आदतें चली गईं। उन आदतों को वापस लाएं। मास्क पहनिए, नाक पर भी वैक्सीन लीजिए, 2 गज की दूरी रखिए और लाइफबॉय या किसी भी साबुन से हाथ धोएं या अल्कोहल बेस्ड हैंड सैनिटाइजर का इस्तेमाल करें। कोरोना वायरस से इंडिया की सुरक्षा अब आपके हाथ में है।
Yeah, so it was really kind of appealing to people, and then we actually started amplifying this with appeals from real people. So we went to a bunch of people who said that I'm affected because I'm not able to go to my work. My childhood is impacted because I'm a child. I'm somebody who's not been able to see my family. And we put all of this out there together with our advertising to say that this is affecting each one of us. Like personally, I've not been to India for the last 1.5 years now. I've not seen my father. I've lost my grandmom in this pandemic. So it's impacted the world, and everybody needed to collectively take responsibility. And again, we said do all the right behaviors and not just wash hands. Okay. Moving on. I think this to me is the biggest impact we created. We've been on this journey of something called telehealth. And for a lot of people who live in Singapore, I think we have a lot of access to excellent medical care. But the stats are not so great around the world. So if you look at a country like the US, every 10,000 people have access, I think, to around 26 doctors, if I'm right. Yeah. But in a country like Indonesia, that's 4.5 doctors for 10,000 people. And for a country like India, it's only 8.5, 9. The problem is we didn't have the infrastructure when COVID happened. People were scared to go to doctors even when they could. And right now what's been happening is that there is a massive recession which is happening, right? So just the ability to be able to afford medical care is not there, and people are conscious. Every time somebody falls sick, there's a huge cost to the family. So many families have lost members who were the primary earning members. So how do you ensure that these kind of people get access to telemedicine or telehealth? And that's where we kind of activated our telehealth and took it to the next level by partnering with the right people. And we've now been able to reach almost 270 million people and been able to offer 1 million consultations to date. So moving on, I'm going to skip this ad, but really we actually just ran a bunch of ads in India with this partner of ours called Practo. So we have partnered with this massive telehealth company called Practo. And we have now been able to reach 25 million people through our advertising. And we've already had more than 25,000 people calling back on the hotline number that we give out, saying, guys, just call up and you will have somebody call you back. It's a missed call. You give that call, people call you back or SMS you back so that you can then have consultation with a doctor. It is so critical in this time. And I think this is something that's very, very close to my heart, to be able to give back to people and spend huge amounts of money being able to do this. But I think it's all for the right cause at the right time. So moving on, I'll skip this. So we put this at point of sale. We've put it on our pack, the fact that these numbers are existing and people can just call up on codes. We put it on our communications, and our telehealth partners are also upping their services to make sure that they give the right stuff to Lifebuoy. So now on and over to Sarsa, who will talk you through what we did in Singapore for the pandemic.
Yeah, thank you, Ishita, so much for sharing so much on a global level. I mean, we must have all seen, what Lifebuoy is doing over the course of COVID, especially. But I mean, just to kind of give everyone a refresher, I think that was my favorite thing that you see on the screen there. It's the SG Dream collaboration for sanitizers. I have so many of them with me. It's my favorite. But just on a larger scale, yes, along with the rest of the world, Lifebuoy and the rest of the world, Lifebuoy Singapore also had to accelerate our brand purpose in the last year because of COVID. So it came from, a couple of different things, making sure products were accessible to everyone, making sure that not everyone got it, but especially the people who needed it the most, and also really focusing on putting out ads that educate people. Now you've got the best product. How do you make the best use of that to keep yourself and the people you love safe? So a lot of things happening in parallel, and I really saw the team work so hard to get all of this out and keep Singapore safe. So a really special place in my heart for the things that had happened in Singapore as well. So, I mean, this was a depiction of what happened during COVID, but generally as well, the brand has always been, purposeful and has always kept brand do at the heart and core of everything that's happened with the brand. So on the left, I'm sure you've seen, if you've taken a grab, you must have seen the little Lifebuoy sanitizers to keep everyone safe on the go. Or if you've been out, grocery shopping, you must have seen the Lifebuoy dispensers that are outside every supermarket to make sure that while people are living their day-to-day lives, just even grocery shopping, we make sure that they're safe and that they're clean, and we do everything in our power that we can. And you might have seen this on Instagram. The most recent education campaign we've run is, like Ishita mentioned, using real, examples of people right here in Singapore who have been affected by COVID. So really telling their stories and getting their help to get other people and encourage other people to adopt the same best practice hygiene behaviors. We've also worked with NEA to make sure that hygiene is accessible at over 100 hawker centers. We have stickers on the tables to remind people that this is an important occasion to keep in mind to, wash their hands and use hygiene products to keep themselves safe. So a lot of different things that, the team has done globally and in Singapore. And I hope that you, get to see these in real life if you're located here. I think all in all, it's really heartwarming to know that while we're putting all of this, effort into saving lives, we are receiving the same love that we're giving out from the people that we're trying to help. So really, seeing people participate with the brand and interact with the brand, show love for the brand, it really is kind of the cherry on top that makes it a lot more worthwhile, I would say, for me at least. And it's very, very cool to kind of see people engaging with everything that we are, putting out there. So I think Ishita did mention, the brand purpose, but I think to me, I would never have imagined joining, straight out of university, joining a brand which is saving billions of lives. Like that never really occurred to me that I could do that. But, it's in line with my own purpose as well of helping people. But this just kind of takes it to the next level because I don't think at an individual capacity, I would have been able to help 1 billion people or 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 in the future, right? So just being a part of an incredibly passionate and amazing team that allows me to, think beyond myself, think beyond Unilever, think about the world and how I can find my place in allowing good things to happen in the world. I think that's been an absolutely incredible opportunity. So with that, we'd love to thank you for paying attention to our presentation. We hope you really liked it. And I've been seeing so many questions come in. So thank you so much for all of your questions. We have about 10 minutes. So I'd love to, Ishita is back. So we are going to take some questions right now and we'll answer as many as we can. So the first one that I'm seeing is, telehealth looks very new and innovative. Do you have any examples of where else it has been applied? How does it work specifically? So Ishita?
So it's a good question. I think this for a bunch of you who are like young students, right, and waiting to join corporate, I think the important thing to understand is that telehealth cannot be one model because the need of each market is different. The access to healthcare is different. And even something as simple as the ability of people to use an electronic platform is different. So I'll give you the example of how we run this differently in India and Indonesia. In Indonesia, when you buy a body wash product, you have a QR code on it. When you scan that QR code, you're taken into the app of our partner, which is called Click Doctor. And then there is a unique Lifebuoy code. When you enter it, you get free consultation for the first time. Because there is a huge prevalence of smartphones in Indonesia. Now, when you come to a country like India, where smartphones are not that common, and it's a feature phone market, it just wouldn't have helped to have a QR code. So there in every advertising, and I wish we could have had time to run that ad, at the end of the ad, there is a unique phone line. When you call on that phone line, it's a missed call because you don't even want that person to have to pay for reaching out the doctor because it's mobile telephony is amongst the cheapest in India anywhere in the world. But even that expense, if you can help them avoid, and the minute you give a missed call, the number registers, and then they start SMSing you back, asking you what is it that you need, and then they connect you with the right doctor. So I think telehealth is going to only get bigger and more ambitious for us to go, but you have to play it right in each market because if your objective was to just do it, you could have simply put a QR code in every market and kind of got on with it, But if your objective, like Lifebuoy is to really make hygiene accessible and to really save as many lives as you can and to change behavior of as many people as you can, then you have to do what is right by that individual country. And that's really the way we are playing telehealth.
Okay, thank you, Ishita. I really like this question. There's another one that's come in. Is there a secret formula to educating and driving behavior change globally?
Well, it is. It's not something that we stumbled upon, but like I said, it's something that we've kind of been able to evolve over time. And you saw the steps, like right from the importance, establishing why it is that something needs to happen and ending with reward. So I'll give you the example of how we kind of run these programs. Of course, now COVID has struck, so things have had to change. But we literally go to schools, right? With our partners, we go to school, we go on a Monday, we teach children how they have to wash their hands. We go back the next Monday and they're supposed to codify this. They have a notebook in which they're supposed to record what they've done. They're supposed to get it signed back by their parents, because without parents getting involved, they wouldn't do it at home. When you go back the next Monday, you see what they've done. You again teach and reinforce the same behaviors, right? You go back a third Monday. And by that time, they've been continuously repeating that behavior. The teachers have been teaching them about it. And at the end of this program, you reward them for the fact, they're taking their pledges, and you reward them for the fact that they have now finally understood. And what we see is that if for this period of 21, 28 days, they've been continuously doing it, then it becomes a habit for life. However, then COVID happened and we could not do our school contact programs anymore. But we don't want to stop reaching out to children and to mothers and to families. So what we are now doing is partnering with Sesame Street, which is one of the world's leading educators when it comes to children. They understand kids. They create a lot of educational content. So now our model for hand washing, which we've developed and perfected over the years, we are now partnering with Sesame Street to see how this can become online and yet fun and engaging for children, so that this program does not stop because COVID is now preventing kids from coming to school. So that to me is really being purposeful, because it's an excuse to say now we can't go to school, we can't meet mothers physically, but there's so much else we can do. And now we've seen, all of us have seen how the online world has exploded. So we still want to continue making that impact. And of course, once schools start again, we will again resume our on-ground programs with kids. But in the interim also, and I think the Sesame Street is only going to enable us to increase our reach massively. So yeah, that's some of the ways in which we do it. But rewarding is very important. I think kids are creatures of habit. You continuously make them do this, but also in a very fun and engaging way. Otherwise, they get bored. And then if they've done something well and you reward it, they want to continue to do the right behaviors.
Awesome. Okay. I see another one that asks, how did the Singapore team find so many ways to help during COVID? I got the Lifebuoy sanitizer after my vaccination. Congrats! That's great news to hear. Maybe I'll take this one since I work a little bit on the Singapore team. Honestly, it's really, I think the team was just looking out for many opportunities and keeping their eyes open for who might need it. I think the nature of a hygiene product just kind of, it came naturally that there was a role to fill in Singapore or in the world when it came to COVID, because everyone wanted a hygiene product and everyone needed a hygiene product. So I think the way that the team really kind of elevated, not just giving the products, but really elevated that whole experience for people is by collaborating with different sports leagues. We had a collaboration with SGAG to really make it, funny and memorable, but drive that same importance of hygiene. So I think it's really like amazing job to the Singapore team that came up with so many ideas, and they worked really hard with cross-functional teams. So of course the global supply chain team really helped us secure products. They worked with all of our creative agencies to come up with different kind of campaigns and to understand the social situation and play into that. So I think a lot of different moving parts that happen when we work on a brand and we work on different ideas. But the vaccination thing, getting sanitizers to make sure people remember to practice still good habits after getting vaccination. I think that's one of the examples. I think we have time for one more question. So Ishita, let's get personal. I see a question about how you decided what kind of career you would have wanted when you were deciding. If you have any advice for anyone thinking about their future and their career, and how did you decide to stay with Unilever?
Okay, so I'm going to tell you how it is. Like I was 22 many years back, but I think I would choose to think that everybody who's on this call has like a certain level of intellect, right? We're all studying in the best universities, etc. I've always believed that one has to marry what their heart believes with what it is that their mind is telling them. And I passionately, when I was studying in my first year and when I was doing my master's in business administration, every time there was a class that was happening on marketing, I could just feel that it's something that's calling out to me. And I ended up doing my summer internship with Colgate-Palmolive. And I realized that it was just something that I was meant to do. Now, within that, you hone your skills, right? Because then you have to be the best and you want to cut above the rest. And I think Unilever has been a great journey. One would never want to leave an organization like this, because for somebody who's passionate about marketing and really wanting to make a difference to consumers' lives, there cannot be a better company than Unilever to work in. Because if your personal mission in life is to be the best marketer, you've come to the right place. If your personal mission in life is to really make an impact and to make a difference, then again, you've come to the right place, right? And like I said, I have a 6-year-old. Today, things that Unilever does around sustainability, around having gender inclusion, or including people from diverse cultures, it makes such a huge difference, because you see the company walking the talk, right? And if there is a marriage of personal values with organizational values, I think magic can happen. So I really believe, and there's to be this philosophy we had, and we still continue to believe in this philosophy in Unilever, which is marrying the magic with the logic. So listen to your hearts as much as you listen to your brains, and join the place which your heart tells you is great. Apply your minds there to be the best, and magic is going to happen. That's what I firmly believe in. And Sarsa has been one of my trainees, and I've realized that when you see people like her kind of shape up, she brings so much heart into everything she does, and she just wouldn't have been the marketer that she is today if she was only applying her brains, because then it's numbers. We sold so many pieces, but it's so much beyond that, right? And she can speak with joy about the brand that she's worked on, which is Lifebuoy, because she's come in with all her heart. So yes, for whoever wants to join, come with your heart, listen to your heart, and then do what feels right. And then apply your brains, of course.
Absolutely. Really, really great advice. I'm going to remember that for sure. So unfortunately, we've come to the end of our sharing. We really appreciate all the questions that were sent in, and we really hope it was helpful for anyone, wanting to learn more about the brand or Unilever brands and purpose in general. So thank you so much. Any unanswered questions will be answered by the team on the Unilever SG Careers Instagram page. So head on over if you'd like an answer to any of the questions, or you'd like to revisit any of the answers. There's still a lot going on. So, join any of the other sessions or go to the engagement zone. I know there's a lot of prizes being given out. I really wish I could win an ErgoTune chair as well, if anyone's listening. But yeah, go and try your luck with all of these things. It looks super fun. I think I'll join in the fun as well after this. And there's also all the portals open for ongoing applications. So you can reach out to any of the HR advisors or organizing committee if you want to know more. But thank you so much, everyone. Take care, stay safe. And yeah, hope you have a great time at Unicorn 2021.
See you. Thank you.